All right, what is up, guys? Before I do anything, let me make sure I get the right microphone here. I do not. Now I do. Okay, should hear that. Should be a lot easier, a lot better now. Um, Welcome back to another episode of Monday Moffcast. It's actually not Monday. I understand that. I had to push some things to today. So if you guys didn't tune into TFPOV last night, you missed a good one. We're going to do Navigating Modern Dating tonight, same time, 8 o'clock p.m. Tonight on this channel. But, you know, I've been wanting to do this for a little while over the last couple of weeks. I've had this thing that's been ruminating. And if you guys have watched my stuff at any given time, if you're new, welcome to the channel. If not, welcome back. This is, my whole brand, my whole platform. I feel weird calling it a brand. I'm just a dude, right? But my whole thing, like the hill that I'm dying on, is helping men, and this idea that men need a tribe, men need a brotherhood, and not to bury the lead, but that's really what we're going to talk about today on the show. But I think we're going to talk about it with a little bit more of depth and breadth, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the meat on the bones and that sort of thing, the whole steak and potatoes aspect of it. So I think we kind of need to figure out and also determine, and we need to understand, and we need to talk about why men are lonely and isolated in the first place. You look at the way that our interactions happen, everything is online. We have the ability to sort of talk to and interact with millions of people simultaneously, but we don't see those people. We don't know those people. They're not generally in our inner circle. They're not in our community, in our tribe. This is something that I talked to Jack Donovan a little about. If you guys aren't familiar with Jack Donovan, he wrote The Way of Men, Becoming a Barbarian. He's got a couple of books. He's become a good friend of mine. And as I've kind of gone on my own a little bit and I've started doing some of this content, you get negative people, you get people that talk shit to you. And I don't know how many people have experienced this, but if you've ever posted something online that's out in public, or if you've ever had an interaction with somebody who you don't know that's a stranger and it's negative, you still have a negative interaction. I don't use TikTok as much anymore. I'm kind of shadow banned on there. They don't really like me, but that's where I kind of like blow off some steam. And if I've got some stuff, I'm like, you know what I'm sick of today? Like, that's what I'll go on there. And it's less the nuanced stuff. I don't post the same sort of stuff on here on Instagram that I do on TikTok. But anyway, and the usual comments, if you say anything that's critical of women, it's like incel, misogynist, you hate your mother, blah, blah, blah. Like all the hits, all the things that we all know that we've been subject to when you dare have an opinion that goes against, the gynocentric social order. And the answer to that is these people don't know you. They don't know who you are. They don't know your thoughts. They're making a judgment call on you. Let's back up for a second. They're not even making a judgment call. They're just spewing vitriol at you. A lot of people, I don't think, really believe the things they're saying. They're just mad and they're looking to call you names. Like they're like, I feel anger and I feel frustration about what you're saying because you are saying something that makes me feel some way about myself. But instead of looking in the mirror and internalizing that and figuring out what you might be talking about, I'm just going to lash out like a child. Like that's literally how children interact. I'm not able to functionally understand these feelings, so I'm going to lash out. That being said, you can sit there and logically rationalize, okay, these people don't know me. They don't live next to me. They're never going to interact with me in any meaningful way whatsoever. But why do mean comments and asshole-ish comments still have a negative effect? Like, why do I read those and get annoyed? Why do I read those and get frustrated? Because I do. It is this internal sort of visceral reaction that I have no control over. It's complete subconscious. Now, as with anything, the more you subject yourself to something, the less effect it has. So this is why I try not to delete comments. This is why I try not to even, at first it's like, I'm not going to read the comments because they're not going to be positive, but it's like, if you're afraid of something or you're anti something, or if you're, have a visceral reaction to something, the best way to get over that is to subject yourself to it over and over and over to a point where it no longer has any negative effect. I look at getting punched in the face as a really good example of this. So growing up, I was never a kid that got into fights. I never had scraps. I never really, was out there climbing trees and riding dirt bikes and getting hurt. I'd never broken any bones growing up. I wasn't doing all the sort of roughhousing like a lot of kids I knew that were doing. And I don't really know why. I just wasn't socialized to it. It's just not something that I did with my dad or friends or anything like that. So I'd never really been into a fight, never really gotten legitimately hurt or anything like that. And when I started training, I started training MMA when I was 18, but that wasn't real MMA. And I'll tell that story for another day. But essentially, I've been training on and off all throughout my 20s and now into my early 30s. And now I train probably more over the last 2 years than I did over the last 10 combined. Um, and one of the things that I started doing was actually going to hard live sparring and getting punched in the face. And I remember the first couple of times, especially the first time I went to sparring, getting hit really, really sucked. And I knew I didn't like getting hit. I knew I didn't want to get hit. And guess what happens? You're going to get hit. It's a fight. But one of the things I realized, the more I went to sparring and the more that I just got through that initial suck, I'm like, this is the worst it's ever going to be. And this applies to most things. The worst thing is the worst you're ever going to be at something is the first thing you ever do. The worst YouTube video you're ever going to make is your first one. The first podcast you ever make is going to be your first one. Like, you're never going to be worse at doing something when you're just starting out for the first time. The thing is, that's when people tend to quit. They're like, I suck. I immediately don't come in. I'm not very good at this. I'm going to quit. If they had just stuck with it, who knows? And I chose to stick with it. Now, like, getting punched in the face isn't fun. It's not something that I willingly want to do, but I am okay with it. I understand that it's part of the game and it doesn't really affect me. And when I know somebody is sparring for the first time and I know somebody is afraid of getting hit, I can tell. And I can tell the way they jerk their head and they jerk their movement. It's like, oh man, this guy is going to be in a bad place. And the more you're afraid of getting hit, the more you're actually going to get hit. Like, the less afraid you are, it doesn't really matter. You're going to get hit actually less. I digress. So back to these mean comments, whatever. I think, this is sort of a hypothesis that I have that I don't know if this is true. It sounds right to me. And I talked with Jack a little bit about this. And so let's take this back, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, before the internet, before smartphones. I don't know how long the internet's been around. Let's just say 30 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever. Up until about 50 years ago, we were never able to have conversations with people halfway around the world. I mean, you could have phones in long distance, but it was never so easy to be able to go onto a phone or to go onto a device and and immediately interact with somebody that's in a different time zone or somewhere else. You had long distance calls, collect calls, stuff like that. It was just different. It was very difficult. And you really didn't even have a reason to interact with those people unless they were family or long friends that long lost friends that had moved away and things like that. There was no reason for you to be interacting with a complete stranger, another time zone over, another state over, even another county or city over. There just was no reason for it. And up until that point, the only people, and I'm talking about from the dawn of civilization, the only people that you would really interact with in any sort of meaningful sense was your brothers, was your tribe, was your family, was your children and your women that lived inside the perimeter. So when you think about the experience of human beings for the beginning of time until very, very, very recently. And most people don't seem to be able to wrap their heads around this, and they don't understand evolution. Like, you talked to this woman last night, about how you got to adapt. It's like, well, your biology doesn't adapt in 50 years or 100 years or even 500 years. It's like tens of thousands of years for things to catch up. And so what I think happens is when we see a mean comment or a rude comment or somebody's calling us a name, our brain, our caveman lizard brain, the biological function that we don't have any conscious control over, we still think that that person that's talking shit to us is like a neighbor or a family member or a close person or a friend of ours. And when we see those negative things, that gives us a negative interaction. We have to consciously talk to ourselves, convince ourselves, and turn these keys in our brain saying, this person means nothing. I'll never interact with them in any sort of meaningful way. Why do I care? I need to stop caring. And that's just something you only get better at by practice. So that's certainly part of it. The issue, I think, and the reason and the reason that this is a terrible contributor to men being isolated, men being lonely, is because men are more vocal, I think, now about issues, problems, and things they struggle with but people still don't care. And even when men used to be able to be vocal, like men used to have a tribe, men used to have a brotherhood. We talked about this a couple like last week on TFPOV. We talked about, like male suicide rates. And it's if the awareness level of male suicide or the awareness level of, men's mental health is going up, then why is the suicide rate still climbing? And they list all the certain things, and it's like, well, men don't have people, like men don't want to talk, or men have all these burdens that they carry. It's like that's always been a fundamental part of the male experience. Like men have always carried burdens, men have always had to be leaders, men have always been the protectors and the providers, the leads and the guides. And so, yeah, I know, Claudia. I know it's Tuesday. If you didn't show up late to my show, you'd already know that. I digress. The point being that men don't have those things anymore. I don't think it's the fact that men won't talk or that they refuse to talk. It's that they don't have anybody to talk to. And when they go and talk to people, or when they go on the internet because they think the people on the internet are their friends, it's just angry. It's vitriol. It's venom. It's hate. It's shut up. Nobody wants to hear men talk. Men used to go to war, go die in a fire, like whatever the fuck it is. Not only that, but like women have completely infected all male spaces. Like there's no such thing as an all male space anymore. It's just, you're almost not allowed to have it. Like you have to create it privately. There's not these public spaces where it's like men's clubs and even these subcultures that were seen as dorky and nerdy and for men only. It's like video games overrun with women. Board games like Dungeons and Dragons and these like nerdy subcultures overrun with women. Gyms and bodybuilding and powerlifting culture overrun by women. And it's because women can't stand that men have things on their own. Like women can't stand that men get together, they do stuff on their own. They always want to be part of it. Every time, like even when I show clips of brotherhood meetups and when I used to run like a sizzle reel of that kind of stuff, all these women be like, well, how come women, when do women get to have one? How women want to be part of this too. It's like, why can't you all just be happy with your own thing and let us have our own thing? I know why, but that's not really part of what we're talking about here. But it is these women that when they see men in an all male space, or when they're going on a trip or they're going on a retreat, they're the first ones to be mad about it. They're the first ones to call them names. They're the first ones to say, you guys are a bunch of gays. You guys are incels. You guys are misogynists. And the worst part about all of this is that because men see those comments, and this is all ties together. And again, our lizard brain is, this person is in my tribe, in my community, even though they're really not. I should listen to what they say. And here's why. The accusation of being gay is like the ace in the hole. It's the trump card. It's the checkmate for most men. Now, this is something, again, makes sense to me, something that I've been thinking about. I don't know. I haven't really looked at it at all, but everything follows from what I've talked about as far as evolutionary psychology and the way that we've moved forward and the way that men act. Whether we like it or not, and despite all of the socialization that we have received over the last, I'll say 15 years, even 20 years, when it comes to gay shit, homosexuality, like gay rights, LGBTQ, all of these things like queerness, homosexuality, all of that being drilled into us as normalized, and all of that being shown to us as this is normal, this is okay, this is correct, this is natural, when for, again, hundreds of thousands of years, it wasn't. This is causing, like, whether men will like to admit it or not, I don't care, because it is. Men have a subconscious, visceral reaction to homosexuality. They might say, yeah, man, it's cool if you're gay. I don't care either way. But I could tell you, like, hey, man, do you want to see this video of two guys banging? And they'd be like, dude, no, what the fuck? Almost every guy would say that. No, guys would be like, yeah, man, totally. I love gay people. Right? I'm like, okay, here's some butt sex. Here's some guys plowing some other dude. And they'd be like, dude, what the fuck? That's what I'm talking about. That's completely subconscious and it's completely visceral. It's the same reaction we have when we hear a woman say, yeah, like I slept with 500 dudes. We're like, oh my God, it's just visceral. It's subconscious. We don't even have time to process it. We just have like, just it's disgusting to us. Now, morally, all this other stuff, I'm not interested in that. I'm talking about the subconscious visceral reaction that we have to this. Since that is alive and well in all men, when somebody accuses us of being gay and we have not trained ourselves and we have not socialized ourselves to understanding that person's words and accusations and bullshit doesn't fucking matter, we'll internalize that and we'll say, you know what? I'm not gay. I don't want to do anything that could be construed as somebody calling me gay. I am not going to participate in that thing. Men would rather be alone, be completely isolated, die, or toil the rest of their lives in a video game chair, naked, eating in a beanbag chair, naked, eating Cheetos and having drool and all this shit, than be called gay. And that's really part of the issue. So the solution to that is getting and finding men that know deep down there's more to life, that know that they have the pull to go and get together with the guys. They have the pull. They see the stuff that I do with the brotherhood, like the fighting and the canoeing and all these trips, and they say, that looks really cool. That looks really awesome. I would love to be a part of that. Like, men have that same biological need and drive. The need for brotherhood and the need for tribe is as powerful as the need for air and water and food. It just is. It is something that has been fundamental to the male experience, and the people have taken that away, and they wonder why men are so isolated and why men are so depressed. It's like you removed a fundamental building block of what men want and what men need to survive, literally to survive, not to just be happy, not to just be content, not to just be okay, to survive. Because we already know the whole lone wolf sigma male bullshit is a complete cope. Like, there's no man that just ever walks out there alone and just does it all on his own and just wins. It's never existed in the history of our species, and it never will. It just can't. And that's where we're at. This is the problem. This is what the real male loneliness epidemic is. You have a bunch of these men that are listening to people that don't care about them, that don't love them, that don't want to do anything positive for them because they have their own internal selfish bullshit ass problems, because people that are miserable love to make other people miserable. Like, misery loves company. And it's the tough part is it's not even all women. Like, let me just be really clear. It's not just women. It's a lot of women, but it's also a lot of other men. And one of the things that pisses me off is that, every day I'll see a new clip. I wish I had this queued up, but I don't. Every day there's this new clip going viral about, somebody out there is putting together some sort of retreat or camp about masculinity. And, the most recent one I saw, it's like these dudes were taking like tennis rackets and they were like beating up. They were like on their hands and knees on the ground, taking a tennis racket, and like there was like this ball or this object rolled up in like a pillowcase or some sheets, and two guys were holding it on either side. It kind of looked like when you're at a pool, it's like you have the lane separators. And he was just wailing on this thing with the tennis racket. And it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we trying to achieve? And the problem I have with that is like these guys, like guys will make Instagram reels and be like, yeah, if you need to spend $5,000 on a masculinity camp, you're not a fucking man, bro. And it's like, it's really easy to sit in your fucking car and point your finger at other people. Now, do I think there's certain programming that's beneficial and certain programming that's probably not, that might be, taking advantage of a guy? Sure. But it's like, I'm not going to knock guys that show up to things trying to grow, trying to improve, and trying to get better. If there's anybody you should be dunking on, it's the people that are organizing things and organizing these trips or these experiences with all of these promises, and the things that they're doing really aren't adding to any growth other than what they think, and so, because I do think there are things that men need to do that are going to objectively make them better. I think men need to learn how to fight. I think men need to be in good shape. Men need to lift. Men need to be hard to kill. Men need to be able to have conversations, difficult conversations with other men. They need to be able to talk about the shit that they're going through and get below the surface so that they're just talking about with their beer and baseball buddies. So there's things that absolutely enhance the male experience and make men better objectively. And there's people out there that will take men's desire for growth and getting better, and then they'll take advantage of them and they just won't actually do anything that's beneficial for them. So if there's anybody you should be throwing shit at, it's the organizers that have no business like putting these things together. So that's the real issue. But again, this is we're in a world now where everything is online. Here's the problem. I hear this sometimes from guys, like not a ton, but especially younger men. They're like, yeah, man, I'm really close with like my buddies in the group chat. We've got like a Discord server, or we've got a Telegram group, or it's like we're part of a Reddit thread, or we've got like a private Facebook group, or all these sort of things. And look, I've got a private men's community. Like that's not any secret. We've got the brotherhood. We use school for our platform. But our entire platform is based on getting out in person and doing things. It's not about living online and doing Zoom calls and doing all these things, because until you've met somebody in person, you just can't call that person a close friend. There's something about, and there's a ton of reasons for this, and I could go down the list, but being able to read body language, being able to read tone, being able to make eye contact, proximity, and being around people. Like, again, we've never in the history of our species tried to have close-knit interactions and create a bond on a screen, online, through text, through voice notes, even through phone calls, even through video chat. It's just not the same thing. It is a caricature of the human experience. It's not a replacement. It's like a Band-Aid over a bullet hole. It's like, hey, man, I'm looking for connection and I'm looking for tribe. It's like, join this online group. We'll do Zoom calls. It's a half-baked solution that ultimately doesn't solve it. And then the problem with that is when these guys refuse to meet in person, or they're afraid of showing up because they're going to get made fun of, they have no opportunity to build real bonds and build real brotherhood and build real camaraderie. And so when one of them is going through a problem or going through some shit in their lives, like, they still don't have anybody to talk to or rely on, because when you're having a conversation over text with somebody you haven't met, like, you don't know them from a hole in the wall. They're just pixels on a screen. Sure, they've got a first name and a last name, and maybe they got like a profile picture, but you still have that barrier between the two of you. And without removing that barrier and actually getting to know that person and meeting them in person. I've talked to guys about this all the time. Like, you meet somebody the first time, it's all great. Like, you size each other up. It's just the way that it goes. You say, hey, man, what's this guy like? He's vetting me. I'm vetting him, whatever. It's brand new. You're very polite, a lot of surface level. Maybe you get below the surface a little bit, but then you meet them for the second time. And it's the difference in familiarity is like 500% increase. You might meet them and you might grab hands, you might give them a hug, you might throw an inside joke, you might, fuck around with them a little bit, you might play something, even play a joke, or you might talk some shit. That's how it really goes. And that's how men really evaluate each other. And that is it's such a barometer. Like, when I know that guys don't come to in-person meetups, I just know they're not going to be around for long. They might pay the entry fee, they might show up on the Zoom calls, but it's like, there's guys that I've liked that I've never met, and there's guys that have left. Everybody that's ever left the brotherhood has not really been a loss. Like, most guys there's been a few guys that I've known, that I've liked, that I've met. That's like, yeah, it's a bummer that they left, but the guys that come out to meetups, the guys that get out in person, the guys that have chosen to take an active role in trying to build a real community and brotherhood and tribe, like, those guys don't go anywhere. If they did, it would be a huge loss and there'd be a reason for it. But ideally, like, it just doesn't happen. So the key to all this, it's no one's going to save men, guys. We already know this. Like, no one is going to go and tell these women, hey, you need to stop being mean to men on the internet. You need to stop like calling men gay or calling them incels or calling them misogynists when they want to get together and they want to do shit. Men, what you need to stop doing is going and looking for people online to be your people, to be your community. finding a group of guys online is the best way to do it. But if you're going to just be part of something that is perpetually online and people don't have any interest in meeting up, and if they do meet up, they're just talking about surface level horseshit, that's not a room that you need to be in. It's really not. Like, we need to get back to brotherhood and male camaraderie in the tribe as something that is a fundamental part of the male experience and is something that men need. This is why, like, when we had these women on TFPOV last week, I believe it was last week, and I was like, look, the next time your guy is going through something tough, the next time he's struggling with something and he doesn't want to talk about it, don't fucking nag him and be like, oh, you never talk to me. Why don't you open up? I want you to be vulnerable. Like, you need to be thinking in your mind, damn, like, when's the last time he had a guy's trip? And if he doesn't have any guys, if he doesn't have a tribe, if he doesn't have any brothers or brotherhood or members, like, that's a problem. And you know what? Like, maybe there's men out there that need that little push from their woman. I know that there's guys out there. It's like, dude, my woman doesn't tell me what to do. I understand it. But you know what? If she's looking at you saying, hey, like, you need to go find some guy friends, like, you need to find something that is just for you that I'm not going to be involved in. And it's going to be really hard for a lot of women. So women, like, you just, that this was my advice last night. They said, what's your advice for men? What's your advice for women? Like, my advice for men is, like, go find a mission and find a brotherhood. And my advice for women is to, like, get the fuck out of male spaces. And if you have a guy that you care about and he doesn't have a brotherhood and doesn't have a tribe, like, you should encourage him to get one. You should encourage him to go find one. You know, this idea that men are meant to just be in isolation, because face it, like, most men are single, like, most men are not in relationships, but even men that are in relationships, the first thing that men tend to do when they get married or get into significant LTRs, long-term relationships, is pour and invest all of their time, energy, effort, and resources into the relationship. And with good reason. I understand why they do it, because they're like, look, this is probably this. If I'm marrying this woman or I'm getting into a relationship with this woman that I want to have kids with, then this is this is the most important relationship that I'll ever have, because it's my children at stake. It's my legacy. It's my bloodline, like, rides on this particular relationship. But what guys tend to forget is that almost all relationships end. Like, very few relationships stand the test of time. And B, by by making the woman the center of your universe, you're almost guaranteeing its failure. You're almost guaranteeing its failure. So the key is maintain your relationships outside of it. Maintain your relationships that don't involve your woman. Like, the average guy, like I said, okay, like, he doesn't have any friends, so he becomes friends with his wife's or his girlfriend's boyfriends. Does that make sense? Right? Like, I've got a girl, she has girlfriends, and those girlfriends have boyfriends. So those just become my guy friends. And probably, on the balance of probabilities, they're probably fat beer dudes, sports guys, sports ball guys. And you're just, like, begrudgingly hanging out with them, like, shooting the bull, just like, oh, hey, yeah. It's like women are out shopping, like, you're out shopping with your chick. I don't know why you'd be doing that in the first place, but, like, she's dragged you to the mall and she's going to go try on clothes. And then you go to, like, the section where there's couches and chairs. And this is where all the guys who got dragged by their women out shopping are sitting. And you guys are just now friends by proxy. Like, you wouldn't pick to be hanging out with these guys. You wouldn't choose to be friends with these guys, but because you're around them, you're now friends with them. Well, what happens if there's a breakup? You lose your chick, which already sucks, but then you lose your guys that you thought maybe were going to be your brotherhood or your tribe, even if they were a poor replacement for one or a bad example of one, because most dudes are lames, most dudes are beta bitches, and they're going to have to decide. And guess what? Like, the women, your girl's girlfriends are going to choose her, which means their girlfriends, her girlfriends, guys are going to choose her as well. So now you got nobody. And because you spent all your time with guys you didn't really care about, and you spent all your time with a chick that you really, or pouring into this woman, now you got double loss. And this is exactly what happened to me. This is, like, my life story. This is what I did. I poured all my energy and time and investments into this one woman. And, there's some dudes that I got on with, but they chose her side because their girlfriends chose her side. So then I had nobody. And that's what drove me to go and find a community. And that's what drove me to create the brotherhood in the first place. And so my whole platform, my whole argument, my whole stance is that everything downstream of a brotherhood, everything downstream of a tribe makes you better. You're more attractive to women if you're vetted by a solid group of men, because men traditionally are, it was hard to earn men's trust. It still is. Like, men fundamentally just don't trust like any guy they meet. Women can meet a girl out at like a bar at a club and they're like best friends overnight. For us, it's like we're more discerning naturally, I think, at least, because we're the protectors of the perimeter. So we have to vet longer and harder, and we have to make sure this is some guy that is actually going to be a benefit, not a detriment. Women generally don't have to do that as much, because it's like, even if they make the wrong call, it's like, well, the guys will protect me anyway. So men generally are more discerning, and men generally, it's harder to earn their trust. And so if you're a guy that has a solid group of friends, and those guys are solid, and those guys are, in shape, and they're making money, and they also are leaders in their relationships, in their households, of their kids and things like that, they've already given you a stamp of approval where she looks at you, she's like, wow, this guy comes pre-vetted, pre-packaged. Like, I'm already attracted to that guy. It's social proof and pre-selection already at work with the tribe. Two, you make more money. I mean, it's just, you have access to guys that will teach you things and have skills. And it's like, even running a business myself, like if I was out on an island and I didn't have guys that have run businesses and that understand the things that I'm trying to achieve, and I could bounce ideas off of them and then have them be a sounding board, it'd be way, way tougher. It'd be far more difficult. And I'd have to do a lot more trial and error. I'm not saying that I don't, because life is all about trial and error, but I could be spending years, if not decades, making the same mistakes that these guys already made, that they've already figured out a solution. They'd be like, hey, don't do that. Obviously, everything is different, or like maybe what worked for them works for you and vice versa. But for the most part, it's like, hey, man, don't do that, because this is like going to fuck you up and you're just going to waste time. Oh, cool. I'm glad I didn't go down that road. I'd rather do something where somebody that I know and somebody that I trust actually had some success, and just copy what they did and try to replicate what they did. When it comes to your fitness, like, if you guys haven't followed me on Instagram by now, you should. You should see the transformation that I've made. And if you've been around long enough, and you won't be able to find a lot of these videos anymore because they've been scrubbed. But there are videos out there of me where you can see the difference in my face, and you can see the difference in my body and the way that I've lost. I mean, dude, like, I'm down almost 90 pounds for my heaviest. And so I'd been trying to lose weight for years, right? And I'd gotten to a good point where I was doing it a little bit here and there, but it wasn't until I started really training MMA and I was around guys that were kicking ass, that were all really, really in good shape, because like, fighters had to be in good shape. Like, you really can't be a good fighter and you're not in good shape. It just doesn't, it doesn't happen. If you guys wonder why fighters are in good shape, like, they have to be. And it wasn't until I was training like 5-6 days a week, a lot of times multiple sessions per day, and being around those guys, where I was like, dude, I don't want to be the fat guy in the gym. I don't want to be I was training so much. It's like, it'd be one thing if I was going once a week and nobody knew who I was, but it's like, my coach is like the number 2 guy in the gym. The fighters know me. Like, we follow each other on social media. We spar together. We train together. Like, I know these guys. I don't want to be the worst guy in that room. I don't want them to look at me and be like, dude, this guy's fucking fat. He's out of shape. Like, he's not one of us. And it wasn't until I got that really, really dialed in that I got into the best shape of my life. So everything that I've ever done, everything that I've ever been successful in, has been downstream of having a good, solid tribe and brotherhood of men that I can lean on, that I can bounce ideas off of, that I can look to for counsel, and that I can just do things with, and I can grow with, and build camaraderie and build connections. And so I truly think that having a tribe and brotherhood is the cheat code to life for men, right? So, and this is exactly like what I'm talking about, right? Like, this guy, you can literally go to a bar or mall pretty much anytime you want and not be lonely. Like, retarded, dumbass fucking comments like this. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, these are the guys I was talking about earlier, who I'm like, it's not just women that say stupid, dumbass, retarded fucking shit. It's also dumbass, fucking retarded, retard men like this guy. So, like, if you think going to a bar and like chatting with some dude, or like going to a mall and being like, hey man, we're in the mall, like, we're in the same store together, so now we're buddies and now we're friends, like, I'm not alone. Like, God, man, like the level of fucking retardery that you guys have sometimes is literally it's baffling to me. It's through the roof. Like, don't comment anymore, dude. I honestly like unsubscribe from my shit. Like, you say fucking retarded shit all the time. I don't know if I have anything else to say on that. I think that's where we're at. I think that we're going to see a resurgence of communities soon. I think any business that isn't capitalizing on a community and isn't running events, getting people in touch with one another, is dumb and is far behind. I think guys that think that you can go to the mall and go to a bar and that is the same thing as getting together with men that you trust to have your back and that you would go show up at their house at 3 in the morning if they called you and they needed you to, it's not even close to the same. And this is part of the problem. So don't listen to fucking retards like this guy. Listen to people that have actually had success with brotherhood and tribe and who are a product of having a great network of guys around them. And it's not just for your fitness, it's not just for your happiness, it's not just for your, contentment. Networking and business opportunities, strategic opportunities. I've got like 3 or 4 other lines in the water right now, 3 or 4 other irons in the fire, things that I'm working on business wise outside of the brotherhood, strictly because of the network that I've been able to create and the ability to reach out to these people. So the sky is really the limit, but this stuff just doesn't happen on your couch. It doesn't happen on Discord. It doesn't happen on, these signal groups, everything like that. That stuff is all fine, well and good as a mechanism that keeps guys in touch. But I'm telling you guys out there, man, if you're a guy out there that's feeling isolated, if you feel like you don't have people to talk to, if you feel you have this pull for something more you want out of life and you want to be around guys that are actually doing things, crushing it, this fact, this, that, and the other, then DM me, man. Like, look into the brotherhood. I mean, one of the things we're doing, I haven't really announced this or made this public, but I will. So up until very recently, up until like a week ago, if you ever wanted to come on one of our events, if you wanted to come on our Algonquin trip, if you wanted to come to the Tampa MMA fight camp, if you wanted to come to Valor Immersion Project, the stuff that we do with the guys out in San Diego, if you ever wanted to come to the Full Spectrum Warrior events we do down here in Florida, you had to be a member of the Brotherhood. What we're going to start doing now is offering slots and offering opportunities for non-members to attend with the hope that they're going to be serious about potentially joining. But I want to try to reach more men. I want to get men out and doing things, contributing to things with one another, breaking bread, training, doing hard things, and just becoming better versions of themselves. So, if that's something that anybody watching is interested in, go to my Instagram, shoot me a DM. We'll try to find an event coming up. We got a bunch of them this year. We'll see what works and we'll see what makes sense for you. But if you're interested, you've ever wanted to come out to one of our events, but you're like, yeah, well, I'd love to try an event. I'd love to see if I mesh with some of the guys before I commit to a year-long plus membership. That's something we can certainly discuss, but this is going to be something I'm going to be saying a lot more of. I'm never going to stop banging on this drum because I see us continuing to go further and further in the wrong direction, which is ostracizing, castrating men who want to get together, who want to do things with other men that are hard, that are tough, that help them grow, that are trying to reclaim the fundamental aspect of brotherhood and tribe, which is an inseparable part of the male experience. It's just inseparable. We can't exist without it. It's as important as food, air, water. It just is. So appreciate you guys letting me do that spiel. This has been a lot of fun. You're always going to have some stupid fucking dickheads in the chat, and that is what it is. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. This is a guy who's projecting. This is a guy who's definitely lonely at home, who is a fucking fat loser. And because he doesn't have the social skills or the wherewithal to actually be somebody that people want to be around, all they do is throw shit. All they do is call people names. That's exactly who we're talking about. So kind of a perfect example of a fucking dumbass who did exactly what I said. And if you listen to those kind of people and you let people like him and these other people tell you that you're gay or you're a loser or you do these things that are going to actively make you better, then you're going to suffer and you're going to end up in a place where you don't want to be and you're going to end up isolated and it might be even worse for you. So tune in and get with guys like me. Find tribes, find a brother, start one of your own or go to one that's built or go to one where you're like, you know what? I think these guys have some cool things to say. There's some things that they do that I resonate with. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give him 72 hours. I'm going to go, go to Algonquin with him for a couple of days. I'm going to come do an MMA meetup. I'm going to get around the guys. I'm going to break bread. We're going to share stories. We're going to talk about our journeys. And who knows, maybe I've found a brand new group of guys that I can depend on and rely on. And, when you've got 5, 6, 10, 12 guys in your corner that would, like I said, show up at 3 a.m. with no questions asked, there's nothing better, man. It's a literal superpower. So I'm going to get out of here. We'll be back here in about an hour and 15, 8 p.m. for Navigating Modern Dating. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Helps out a lot. Follow me on Instagram. If you're interested in learning more about the Brotherhood and some of the trips we got going on this year, you guys know where to find me. And we'll see you back same time next week on Monday this time. We'll be right back to normal schedule. But until then, I'll see you.